Welcome to Scotland. I'd like to invite you to go on a journey with me to the Isles of Lewis and Harris in the Hebrides, far out to sea off the west coast of Scotland. This ancient and inspirational landscape has for centuries been home to one of the world's most beautiful and rarest fabrics, and I've come here to tell you its story. Harris tweed is woven in hundreds of rich and resonant traditional patterns. You can even have your own tartan woven as Harris tweed. And this is where it starts. Harris tweed is only ever made from pure new wool, and every step of its production is done here, which is what I'm going to show you. The first step is dyeing, but unlike most weaving, we're not dyeing yarns. We're dyeing fleece in a range of natural colours that can later be mixed and mingled to create yarns of almost any colour. The wet wool now goes into a big spin dryer, and then into, well, really it's an even bigger tumble dryer, until all the last traces of moisture from the dyeing process have been removed. Here you see the 30 or so base colours, the raw ingredients from which the Harris tweed recipe is prepared. We first weigh the precise ingredients for the particular yarn shade we want. Then, like any good recipe, we now mix the ingredients, first by hand. At this point the mixing can be quite rough, just to make sure that no one colour predominates too much later on. And now we have machines to help. The fleece is dropped into a vacuum tube, which takes it to the mixer behind our friend's head here. Here it is shredded, broken up into smaller and smaller clumps. It's then carried, first by conveyor, then by another vacuum tube, up and over. To this rather beautiful thing, the spinner distributes the constituent colours randomly, as it's done for years. Now more finely mixed, the fleece is ready for teasing and carding. Once this would all have been done by hand, but today a series of machines take the fleece on a journey, during which the fibres are increasingly intermingled and made straighter and made fluffier. So fluffy indeed that cleaning the cogs and chains is a never-ending task. Through the swift, the scribbler and the rollers, this process is repeated again and again, becoming finer and straighter and looser. But even when the fleece comes off the final roller, notice the rich depth and complexity of shades that gives Harris tweed its unique and distinctive character. These small rollers, the little workers, ensure the fibre is lying in the right orientation. And at last the wool is ready to be spun into the yarn itself, separated by these tapes, then carried through the machine on rubber conveyors. The loose and easily breakable thread exits and is wound onto these large bobbins. Spinning is the process that gives the yarn its strength. From the bobbins, it is mechanically spun 7 to 9 times before being wound onto the yarn cones below. Now that we have our coloured yarns, the weaving process can finally begin. The hundreds of lengthwise warp threads for the loom are set up in the correct sequence on this warping frame, up to 80 metres or more at a time. By law, all Harris tweed is woven in the islanders' own homes, as it's been done for centuries, though fortunately today conditions are a bit more modern and comfortable. all Harris Tweed weaving may only be hand-powered, or in this case foot-powered, which is again specified by Act of Parliament. The weaver is certainly kept busy, as the yarns can often break and frequently do need to be replenished. My friend Angus here says he can produce up to about a piece 80 yards or so long on a good 13-hour day. And as he says himself, who's got a better job anywhere in the world? When the woven cloth comes back to the mill, it's carefully checked over inch by inch. Then it's washed in cold, pure island water to take away any last oils and impurities. And now the cloth goes into the walking machine. The rhythmic walking songs you hear in the background, by the way, are the songs the women used to sing while undertaking this arduous task together. The wet fabric is beaten, stretched and twisted, which softens and conditions it. Before going back into the same spin dryers earlier. And then a final machine which dries and presses the finished fabric. So time to darn or snip any last stray threads. And then the last vital stage before dispatch, inspection and certification by the Harris Tweed Authority to allow your fabric to carry this unique label. And there we have it, another Harris Tweed to add to this wonderful heritage. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have.